Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. This is a classic game between TheBigOne and TaintedLove. It's from a tourney. This is somewhere in the middle rounds, but this is a really good game, so hopefully people enjoy it. Here we got TheBigOne going with Aeon. Looks like no PGens, just one mass extractor. The Hydra is going to provide most of the power, so Theta, one of the greatest maps. Bunch of little rocks spread out. One thing is the mass extractors are really spread out, so you really gotta control the map. No turtling on this one. And we got TaintedLove as UEF. It looks like he's going to pick up two mass extractors, one PGen. Actually, the ACU is going to pick up three of them. See what this engineer does. Most likely going to pick up the other than the Hydra, so only one PGen to begin with. So Aeon definitely has an advantage in terms of Tech 1 on this map here, with the TheBigOne having the Aurora, so they can outrange the UEF tanks. But UEF definitely has some tricks of its own, so we might see some good action. Actually, we definitely will. So you can see first two engineers coming to the Hydra. We should see a whole bunch of land factories. The question is how quickly the TheBigOne goes with air. We know that he can do some pretty crazy tricks with air, like the ghetto. Very good with the ghettos, just like the little one was as well. Looks like first three engineers for TaintedLove as well. One of them is going to be expanding to the bottom part of the map, and we do see an Aurora moving in that direction from TheBigOne, so we might see some early fighting. We'd also see a few mech marines, and they're also going to go down, so we're going to see mech marines versus Aurora. That's really going to go down to micro. We see second ground for TaintedLove, and second ground for the TheBigOne as well. Very low in power in this game, just the Hydra for the TheBigOne, so just like 5 power generators. Very similar for TaintedLove, a little bit more power. And here we actually have 3 mech marines plus a scout. We see 2 Auroras and 2 scouts going down, so pretty evenly matched forces. But with those radars, Auroras probably do have a bit of an advantage, especially if the players do not micro. Not much going on top. We do have this upper ledge. If you can get control of it, pretty easy to defend, but you got to get there first. And it looks like the ACU for the TheBigOne is going up. That is in contrast to the ACU for TaintedLove. I thought I sped this up. Who's going to this middle choke point that has a bunch of rocks scattered around. That will give him a nice mass boost. And here come the Auroras leading with the scouts. See, the engineer is finished with one mass extractor and get 2 more. So both players having scouts. Now the Auroras are going to retreat. They saw the superior numbers. Actually, in this type of situations, when it's not flat ground, the mech marines do have an advantage. You see the 2 ACUs, very aggressive from the TheBigOne. He is able to shield. You can see he's got scouts throughout the map, so he definitely knows that this engineer is secure. Very important engineer. And here the Auroras are actually making their way back. So see the micro from these 2 players. The mech marines rush in, and if they can get close to the Auroras, and that was very well played there by TaintedLove. Got really close and survived. 3 kills for this last mech marine. Still got a scout. This engineer is going to be the next victim unless TheBigOne can save him. You can see now TaintedLove getting a whole bunch of mass, still leaving quite a bit. Appears now the TheBigOne is moving directly in the direction of TaintedLove's base. We can see the scout. Absolutely no rating to the top from TaintedLove, except 2 tanks moving in that direction, but they just might be intercepted by this ACU. And actually, in fact, they're going to attack the ACU and lose, and these engineers also got to retreat. And now you see this 4 kills for this mech marine now. That was the engineer that tried to run away, and this mech marine now retreating, actually regenerating health quite quickly with those 2 stars. But we do see 3 Auroras moving in that direction from the TheBigOne. TheBigOne definitely has way more units than TaintedLove, and this is a pretty crazy development. We just saw TaintedLove go T2. So Mongoose, so Auroras no longer have the range advantage. The T2 unit from UEF, these have a long range gun. And one good thing about them, they have a really long reload gun, which we see it's supposed to be grenades, very powerful at first. And then they also have the long range gun that shoots all the time. So if you attack and retreat with the Mongoose, they're very effective. And I see a single Mongoose here is going to clean things up. Looks like that mech marine, hero mech marine, has given his life. It's one of these wrecks. But the good thing is this engineer here for TaintedLove is alive and has a PD finished. Very secure area here for TaintedLove. On top it is all the big one. He's definitely got map control there. Got the top ledge. Doesn't look like he's going to build a wall, but he's actually going to get even more mask extractors. And that's all because of the ACU. And because you can see in terms of sheer numbers, way more units for the big one. He is working on 5 land factories, no air, but pretty big air spam, power spam, which means he can't afford these ACU upgrades, so he's probably getting the gun. Most likely getting the gun. You see the Mongoose here with 3 kills and radar, taking out mask extractors, and now the map is basically cut vertically or horizontally. Now the big one getting hit by some Mongoose. Nearly done with the first upgrade. We can see TaintedLove here. Tech 1 ACU, but a Tech 2 engineer from the factory. He's going to get Tech 2 point defense in this area. It's going to really secure the top for him. The bottom part is already secured. He's going to have a pretty good base, even though it gives up quite a bit of the map to the big one. It's much easier to play when all your different fronts are secure. We got to remember there is also this choke point, so there's really three fronts, so sneak attacks are possible. And once again, the Mongoose, he is in the range against the Auroras. 4 kills for one for the other. As long as they have that scout, they're in good shape. And up on top, a great raid here from the Mongoose. They're going to take out the top ledge, and map control slowly shifting in TaintedLove's way. The big one nearly done with the second upgrade, and with 2 upgrades, that aeon ACU is going to be very powerful. We also see some T2 flak and multiple T2 PDs plus radar here in the middle for TaintedLove. And it is 100% a T2 land spam with Mongoose. We should also see a shield somewhere. We don't see a shield yet. These 2 Mongoose here on the back door, great job. It looks like these Auroras are giving up. They're moving up to protect the ACU, and the ACU should be done. Now the ACU is done at 8 minutes. The big one has both guns. Let's see how he can counter this very early T2 from TaintedLove. We see some success, 6 kills for this Mongoose. Many mask extractors are dead for the big one. Now the big one is moving in, but ran into the T2 PDs. We see more of them going up. Nearly the third one. Also, no, it's just 3 T2 mask extractors plus a radar. And on the back door, since the Aurora is left, the Mongoose are going to take the free kills. And up on top, looks like a few of these Mongoose were caught in a big sea of Auroras, and they were killed. But still a pretty good T2 force here from TaintedLove, and way more mask extractors for TaintedLove as well. So the economy is going to be shifting in his favor, and the Mongoose continue to do damage here. The big one is going to run back. The Mongoose are really going to be afraid of the ACU here that can outrange him, plus overcharge these with one shot. We also see some pillars from TaintedLove. They're moving in. They have a little more health and a little cheaper, but they have shorter range than the Mongoose. Looks like some engineers for TaintedLove are going to try to take advantage, and we do see rebuilding from the big one. So very even here, except for this raid on the bottom. See the big one now with 5 kills. See that overcharge? Very long range on the ACU, and the Auroras are pushing back. And as the big one is pushing against the T2 force in the bottom, TaintedLove takes the chance to move in a little closer, and that will allow him to take out the expanding engineer. So a good move there, reacting right away and not letting big one to freely attack on all fronts. It's a good work. We also see T2 ground with some obsidians coming out for the big one, so perhaps both players at T2 can even this fight out, and perhaps with the gun. So one thing you can do with T2 Aeon is get a couple shields around this ACU, and then with this gun it becomes an extremely powerful weapon. Now it appears that the big one is looking directly at TaintedLove's base. So one thing about only having one factory, actually some T2 mask extractors as well, one T2 mask extractor, if you lose that, you're pretty much done with the game. And this is a really good move with the big one. He is avoiding this T2 PDs, although it looks like some of these Auroras are gonna get shot. TaintedLove moving with his ACU back down to base, absolutely no upgrades on it, and actually a pretty big retreat with all units at all fronts. So this aggression is paying off for the big one. You see all the fronts. There's a full complete pullback for TaintedLove. Now the big one with 10 kills, overcharging the Mongoose. Well, the big one could be in a little bit of trouble here if he loses these units. this T2 force, if they can cut off the ACU, it'll be bad shape. 9 kills for TaintedLove. TheBigOne with 11. And good micro from these players, and you really want to avoid those T2 PDs if you're the TheBigOne. They're absolutely massacring these units, and actually TaintedLove getting overcharged, pretty low health here. Very close for TaintedLove. And you can see this ACU, since it can outrange the EF ACU, it caused a lot of damage. Now the TheBigOne taking on an entire T2 army in TaintedLove's base. 18 kills, 18 very big kills. They are mostly T2. A Tech 1 PD, that's going to be very timely here for TaintedLove, and the TheBigOne is going to have to retreat through a big force of T2 units. That was a great overcharge there from the TheBigOne. It looks like he will be able to survive, and a lot of really nice wrecks in this area. So the big question is who's going to get to keep those. We did see TaintedLove get very close to dying. It was about 1,000 health, but we retreated. And now these T2 mass extractors are going to be killed by the TheBigOne's ACU. And definitely shifting in the TheBigOne's favor. With that aggression, the TheBigOne is able to even out map control. This PD very valuable here, actually taking out Obsidians. And we are seeing the cruise missiles from TaintedLove firing at TheBigOne. It looks like they're targeting the factory and taking out the T2 factory for the TheBigOne. That is a big loss. The TheBigOne can no longer make these missile launchers or Obsidians, or in fact a shield, which would be very good. And you can see now TaintedLove making a shield for his ACU, making life much safer for TaintedLove now with 13 kills. We see 48 kills for the TheBigOne, taking out quite a bit of power, being a very big nuisance, and a bit of a T2 PD creep back into TaintedLove's base under a few shields. Those shields will stop working. We see the Hydro has been destroyed and a lot of the power, so only a few Tech 1 power generators, and each one of these needs 5 Tech 1 power generators. So yes, we now see these shields going down because of lack of power. The TheBigOne keeps on putting pressure. We see a new Tech 2 factory here for the TheBigOne plus a T2 engineer, and the TheBigOne keeps on putting pressure, but he isn't built of trouble. He's at 58 kills. These T2 PDs are doing damage. He just needs to get one more kill to get a nice health boost, and takes out his shield. So now retreating with 60 kills and 4,000 health. But still, his Tech 1 units are at the back store. These T2 PDs are going to get a lot of kills. Perhaps it would be better for the TheBigOne to retreat. Elsewhere on the map is just a lonely engine here for TaintedLove picking up mass extractors. No expanding engineers for the TheBigOne going up top. But on the bottom it's mostly the TheBigOne. He might be able to hold on to a few of these mass extractors. Although a PD creep here from TaintedLove would be a big problem. The Hydro is now rebuilt, and more Mongoose coming out for TaintedLove. 61 kills for the TheBigOne. So far, after 50 minutes, a very tough battle with some shifts and turns. But actually this PD, one of the most valuable units here for TaintedLove, made by one of the first engineers. Really the only unit still alive on the bottom, but the TheBigOne with his ACU will be able to take it out. And now perhaps a counter with a few of these Mongoose from TaintedLove, but these Obsidians should be able to hold their ground. Also some missile launchers getting quite a few kills. It looks like more Obsidians coming out for the TheBigOne. Plus we do see a cruise missile launcher from aeon as well. So we're gonna see TaintedLove make some TMD, but it doesn't look like he has any, and most likely has no reason to build any. But this T2 mass extractor will be a great target. More T2 PD coming up for TaintedLove. Actually sniping directly at the ACU with that would be a very nice move for the TheBigOne. Finally, some units going up on top from the TheBigOne. Should be able to take out at least 2 of those mass extractors. Though it might be difficult to take this one due to these T2 point defenses. Surprising we don't see TaintedLove taking advantage of all that Rex. That is a lot of mass that he can use, and we did see this PD finally get taken out by TheBigOne's ACU at 62 kills, retreating back to base. So let's see what the new plans are for these two players. More TMD for the TheBigOne. Absolutely nothing coming out of this factory. We finally do see air from the TheBigOne. Not much taken at all in terms of mass. Actually, scouts going after mass extractors. There are 4. The TheBigOne, we do see multiple T2 mass extractors for TaintedLove, and an air factory as well. Of course, with T2 flak, T1 arrow won't be very effective, except perhaps for scouting, which is exactly what Big One's doing. He just saw the entire base. But he probably just saw really good targets for this cruise missiles, and we do see the cruise missile launcher now firing, and I'm predicting these two units to be disappearing shortly. Do we see TMD going up yet? No, but we'll see it shortly. Now, it would be nice to see an engineer here from the Big One. He has one coming in. You can see there goes a mass extractor. Don't see another missile though. That might be a missed opportunity. This TMD will be built, so no more cruise missiles firing at TaintedLove's base. And map control definitely in Big One's favor, although we do have to take into account this T2 mass extractor does count like 3 of the Tech 1s. So Obsidian's not going to T3 yet, and actually some teching now from the Big One here coming up on minute 20. And it's basically just scouts here from this air factory. Now we got to look at this T2 force from TaintedLove. Has been building it up. He also using engineers to get some of those wrecks. It could be big enough that he can counter back on top. Not too much defense on top, except of course for the ACU. We do see somewhat of a push here from the Big One. It might actually be an evacuation, so a big lack of aggression here from the Big One. He's just pulling out of this region of the map, even though TaintedLove didn't really attack him. We do see a single engineer here picking up these free mass extractors, but we should expect TaintedLove to take this area back. Perhaps the Big One wanted to pull a few more units close to his ACU, and this is that was an assassination attempt. That was very close. If the Big One had a little less health, that was this missile launcher there, actually loaded with 8 missiles. So the Big One can't stop anywhere with his ACU unless it's close to TMD. And now we do see TaintedLove counterattacking with a few mongoose up on top. We'll get some of the map back, but it's really unclear why the Big One just gave away a lot of the map. He does have T2 as well. These mongoose are going to do damage. Now Obsidians are going to come in to force these back, but they already did their job. No engineers in sight for the Big One. We also see T2 engineer here from the Big One getting more tactical missile defense. And these mongoose cleaning up on freshly built mass extractors from the Big One. Big One now thinking about attacking once again, but quite low on health. And Obsidian versus mongoose. And mongoose have the huge advantage; they can run away and shoot. Of course, Obsidians have way more health and yeah, a lot more damage per shot. The Big One getting a few free kills. So both players playing very defensive here. See mobile shields, T2 power now coming up for TaintedLove, as well as T2 air factory. And I'm definitely going to speed this up until the action picks up. This is a really nice looking Obsidian force. A lot of health in this in that squadron. And we do see T3 ground from the Big One. He is making sniper bots, so we'll see how well he can use those. Sniper bots can take out T2 point defenses, of course, but they need fly ground, and Theta has plenty of fly ground. The Big One looks like he's going to try to take those mass extractors back. We do see T3 land from TaintedLove as well. He's making some Titans. These are really good against Tech 1 and Tech 2 units. Perhaps the weakest T3 unit out there, but can be effective in this one. Of course, EF can always go to the Perseus to get the strongest T3 unit. And here's a sniper. We'll see how many kills the sniper gets hiding here behind those Obsidians. And now here come the Titans. They're taking on Auroras, but we did see this Obsidian actually took quite a bit of health from this Titan, but which did get 8 kills. Wait for the shields to catch up, and looks like TaintedLove will be able to secure this bottom area finally. And this is a Harvey. This is a great aeon unit. I'm hearing cruise missiles. There's a cruise missile here from the Big One, and he just took out the missile launcher from TaintedLove. That was loaded with many missiles, so big waste of mass there from TaintedLove. The mongoose continues to push. Big One continues to retreat, and maybe a very slight advantage in terms of map control from the Big One because he does have the high ground now. And here's this mongoose, killed the mass structure, now is going to run away. Good work there, taking a lot of attention from the Big One. Looks like simultaneously we might see an attack through the top from TaintedLove, and we are seeing artillery, Tech 3 artillery from the Big One. And if the artillery can start hitting directly at TaintedLove's base, that will be a big problem, especially with all this power. It looks like the artillery is being attacked by these mongoose, and this will be a very important situation, but it looks like the aeon units have way more damage here. There's really no chance for this T2. You can see most of these units have died. So this choke point very secure, and it looks like a push from the Big One. He's going to try to secure this area so that he can deploy his artillery. These Titans that we just saw, a sniper, and T2 air actually from TaintedLove, absolutely no air from the Big One. And these units are completely defenseless, and that sniper just got killed. Looks like Big One will regroup both of his forces, T2, T3, T1. They are facing a couple T2 PDs here. And they actually did bring some flak with them, so that these gunships won't attack them. But those gunships can do a lot of damage elsewhere on the map. Also see China's bombers trying to counter the Harpies. And the Harpies are pretty defenseless. Now we are seeing Percy's coming out. Now I gotta slow this down. Percy's coming out for TaintedLove. He's making multiple. This is really the answer from UEF to these Harbingers, which really dominate the Titans. We can see this T3 land spam pretty big from the Big One. Thought about a T2 power there for a second. And now more flak coming out for the Big One. So now all of the different forces for the Big One have to have T2 flak and back at his base. He's got to surround everything. Or he can win air if he goes T2 air with some swift winds. Also a good option for an aeon player. We see a lot of flak coming out for the Big One. Now we're going to see this T3 standoff. And of course there is an advantage for the defensive player with the T2 PDs. And just looking at these numbers, the aeon player could easily win this, although there is one Percy in this already with 5 kills. But there's always an option for these units to retreat back at base to the T2 PDs. It looks like this is a push now from the Big One. And it doesn't look like the CEF force will be able to retreat fast enough. We did see that Percy get targeted and get taken out right away. And this is a great feature from the Harpies. That one actually died to T2 PD. They can reclaim the battlefield after they kill it. Here's an artillery. Good placement. Let's see what it can hit. Looks like it's targeting this fire base here. And not very good accuracy, but if you leave that alone for a while, it will kill your entire base. So map control definitely in Big One's favor. But good defense here from TaintedLove with all these Harpies. It looks like T3 air coming out for TaintedLove. He does have a single T2 power. This will be a great target for the Big One if he can kill that somehow. Even just sacrificing a few Harpies and sneaking in the back door, taking that out would really cripple TaintedLove. We just saw how effective T2 flak is against gunships. Those gunships disappeared. Titans trying to counter, but they're going to have to run away from the Harpies. Big One getting some anti-air just in case. And actually this would be a great target for TaintedLove as well if you made a bunch of bombers, but you can see here the Big One thinking that and making flak, not allow multiple passes from the bombers. And we just saw that TMD get taken out by the artillery, and we see this artillery shooting in this area, and this T2 power is being targeted. That'll be a huge loss. Looks like a Strat bomber is being made by TaintedLove. See how effective that is, and the Harpies are beginning to encircle TaintedLove's base. The Big One really has this game in his grasp unless he makes a mistake, of course. Harvey's trying to take on multiple, or Percy's trying to take on multiple Harveys, but the Harveys win. Now they just gotta stay out of the range. And shields over this T2 power. Looks like it is beginning to lose health. More Harveys coming in. Strat Bomber is nearly finished. That was that was devastating. They just killed the Strat Bomber with artillery. Actually didn't kill it, but it really damaged it. And actually that second shell just killed that bomber, so TaintedLove has to restart. And the Harvey slowly but surely no more T2 power for TaintedLove. Really no way back here at minute 35. He was going for the Strat Bomber to try to snipe the big one, and that would have definitely not worked given the big one now has T3 power. So an excellent use of T1, T2, T3, and the Aeon player wins. Hopefully people enjoyed it.